Awesome. And then I'm going to drop my email in the chat. Oh, we've got more. Wow. Okay. Charlotte, North Carolina. Awesome. Oh, Sharon, Massachusetts. Oh, another Rhode Islander. I don't know if that's what y'all are called over there, but we can make a guess. Oh, another Georgian. California. I'd say Sacramento, Pittsburgh. Okay. Well, we've got pretty much the whole United States represented here. North Dakotan in southern Minnesota. Ooh. Must have been like an accent shift, I can imagine too for you. Hi, Steph, everyone. Hi from Calgary. I think is AB Alabama. Someone might be able to correct me on that. We're gonna
Yeah.
go to Canada. Thank you, Darius. Alberta, Canada. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We've got two international folks tuning in today. So one from Brazil, one person from Canada. Y'all are so awesome. Thanks for joining. So if you've never joined for Smart, so y'all, Smart is also here in the chat. If you haven't met Smart, I'm Smart. Feel free to go off camera or go on camera and just say hi. Smart is amazing over here at Mentra. If you've applied to a role through any of our partners, you've spoken to Smart, but I will let Smart say hello to you all. So go ahead, Smart.
Oh, yeah. Hi, everyone. This is also my first time joining this event. But yeah, I'm looking forward to, help you guys based on my knowledge and recruitment. So yeah, looking forward also to participate in this event.
Thanks for joining, Smart. You're awesome. Okay, you guys, let's go ahead and get started. So before we actually get into some of the content today, I want to share a little bit about what body doubling actually is. And then I'll go into our app. One second, just letting a few of our folks in. All right, can everyone see my screen? Can I get a thumbs up if everyone can see the screen? Might be a little delayed. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Saeed. All right. Okay, so as I said, we're doing some body doubling, but we're doing a little bit of a manatee style twist, and that'll make sense when we get into the app discussion a little bit later. Our agenda for the day, we're going to go through, well, I'll hold that for towards the end, but we shared that we're going to go over body doubling. So we have a few different options on what this can look like. So body doubling is essentially a process by which we're all just going to drop in our goals in the chat. So we'll have one goal, for example, I want to send out 2 emails to a recruiter, or I want to send out 2 LinkedIn messages. That would be something that I would be able to complete within the time window that we have together today, because we have about 20 minutes for body doubling, and I'll check in every 10. So you'll want to set a goal for each window. So for example, if you want to journal, that's one option. And I'll leave this screen up so that you all can see it as we're going through the body doubling session. And then you can also, as I said, you can apply to different roles or connect. You can refine your resume. You can consume one piece of inspiring career content. So maybe that's on LinkedIn, maybe that's on TikTok, but just making it a goal to get excited about something that you see online that's happening for someone else. You can also check in with a friend, a mentor, or a LinkedIn connection. And I have a prompt if anyone's curious about what that looks like for that connection. I could share that prompt in the chat for you all. And then you could also do something that feels soothing. So I love stimming. I didn't get into my intro a little bit earlier, but I'm someone who's autistic, so movement, I just got to do it sometimes. So maybe your goal is movement today, but it's completely up to you and what your needs are. So with that being said, I'd love for everyone to drop in the chat what your one goal is over the next, let's say, 12 minutes that you'll work on. And it could be small. So say you want to update your most recent resume for your current role. That could be one thing. For me, I am going to work on reaching out to a few LinkedIn connections. And so what that might look like is this prompt here. And I've shared this prompt a few times in the past on other webinars that we've done. But ideally, the goal around the message just being like, I came across your work. I'm excited about what you're doing. I want to connect because of this, and then just sending it along. So if anyone has any questions about this or wants to talk more about what this might look like, feel free to drop your questions in the chat and we can get to them. Another really good opportunity for you all while we are body doubling together is to drop in a few things about yourself. So your name, maybe your special interest, drop in your LinkedIn profile, your role, and then kind of what you're looking for so we can start keeping an eye out for different opportunities that come across because you never know what role someone else might be seeing that might fit your niche. So go ahead and drop this in, y'all, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. I will check in over the next 12 minutes. Typically what we do is we'll go.
Don't bother. Don't bother. Oopsie.
Hi, John. Welcome in.
Sorry about that.
All good, all good. So we're gonna go ahead and get started, everyone. Feel free to drop your goals in the chat as we go along, and then I'll check in about 12 minutes, and then we'll keep going along.
Say hi. Now I see that my audio was not active.
Hi, everyone. Just want to check in because we're at about the 10-minute mark for our first wave of body doubling, but I wanted to see if anyone has any wins that they want to share, any things that they were able to complete and they're excited about completing. Feel free to drop all of those in the chat. We want to celebrate you. You deserve it. So let's do it together a little bit, but we'll just keep moving along as those come in. And I'll read them aloud as I get them. And if everyone could just send along some of those like burst emojis or whatever. Gina said I applied for a proofreader position. That's awesome. Congratulations, Gina. Hope you hear back soon. Awesome, you guys. Lots of love on that one. Cool. Said I just booked a vaccine appointment. Amazing. Get those things out of the way so that you can enjoy the rest of your week. Awesome. I know you just joined, and this goes for anyone who just joined. Feel free to drop in your LinkedIn profile in the chat and share, what you got going on, anything exciting, any wins I get, I'll continue to read out, but I'll check back in about 9 minutes, and then we'll get started with some burnout. Got another one that I wanted to read out loud. So James just finished updating his education on his resume to include some coding experience. That's awesome. Congratulations, James. I'm just realizing I was muted that whole time. Thank you so much, everyone. All right. I was just saying that I wanted to give you an update on where we are with the Mentra app. And the internal team is really focused on building out something that is useful for you all and exciting. So we just went through updates to our career clarity series, and we're processing all of that feedback now, and we have ongoing sessions that will be integrated into these workshops eventually. We are going to be launching the Mentra app shortly, so likely over the next 2 weeks in beta format, and then by the end of October 2025, we will have a full app launched and continue to launch different features as time passes. And then we'll be evaluating feedback from there, from some of our key supporters. Just a little overview of me before we dive into some of the burnout content. A lot of it is coming from my own personal experience. I have a background in corporate, which is where I experienced a pretty significant period of burnout after I left that role I was in for about 2 years. But I am a dyslexic ADHDer, which means I was hit with a triple whammy of neurodiversity, and I have executive functioning challenges, I have sensory challenges that were really exacerbated by my time struggling with burnout. That being said, I've turned my experience of burnout into something that I love today, and that is birds. I create content about birds and share my passion online, as well as another passion of mine, which is supporting neurodivergent folks and making it a little bit easier than it was for me. So let's talk about what the heck is burnout? A lot of the folks on this call may have already experienced burnout, or it might be something that you are familiar with. Sorry, I'm having some screen share issues. But overall, what that looks like is extreme fatigue, often loss of passion, self-doubt, can be incredibly defeating. Folks struggle with brain fog, which, if you're not familiar, it's essentially feeling like you have a blocker and you're not able to get to like the meat of your thoughts, of what you might be processing, what you might be going through. You might feel incredibly lonely. And feel free, y'all, if you have an experience that doesn't fit on this slide, drop in what your experience with burnout was like. I'm going to come back in here and see introvertious. Oh, thanks everyone for the invites. Yeah, Audi ADHD. Love to see representation in the chat. Dream roles. That's awesome, James. I have a burnout. Staying relevant and looking for work. Yeah, John, I relate to that. I've definitely been there as well. I'm sure folks, burnout is my normal self quite often. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, James. Hopefully we can talk about what getting out of burnout looks like together a little bit. It can involve sensory overload and overall just a loss of sense of self, which can be incredibly harmful to our self-esteem, our self-worth, and ultimately self-doubt. So the key in overcoming burnout is recognizing the signs and acting as early as you can. Now, it's important to remember that as neurodivergent folks, it might and is often a lot more difficult for us to recognize what is going on in our body when it is happening. There's often a time delay. I'm not sure if anyone relates to that, but feel free to drop in the chat if you do. And so that recognition can it's not as straightforward as this sentence implies, you know? It can take time and really sitting with what your body is telling you. And I'm going to talk about what that looks like in the next slide on phases. So there are three key phases that I want to call out that you might experience when you are struggling with burnout, when you're in a period of burnout. And the first is sort of the beginning, the part where we can maybe tune into a little bit more and hopefully kind of read those cues to move out and away, hopefully, from active burnout. So the first phase is our burnout brewing. So this often looks like forcing yourself to perform or mask or pass to survive. This was something I experienced in corporate America pretty frequently. I made the decision early on to not disclose. And I still stand by that decision, but I do think that not disclosing put me in a position where I felt like I had to mask even more. And so when I did show up in the workplace, it was like I was masking, but then I was also overcompensating for my mask because I didn't want folks to recognize that I was masking. Ultimately, this made me feel invisible. I felt unseen and erased, both with a combination of the work environment, which was incredibly the environment that I was in. It felt very hectic. Things were constantly moving. We were changing pace, but it felt like there wasn't necessarily at the time in my role documentation that made all of those moves and all of those steps make sense to me, which resulted in more masking and performance. So often what that looked like in my body was I was struggling with my sleep so significantly. I was sleeping maybe 3 to 4 hours. I was up bright and early at 5 a.m. working, and I would be into the late hours. So it impacted my sleep, my anxiety. So I went from someone who would just sit at a desk like I am with you all today to someone who I was visibly shaking, during those calls or even just working on my own, there was a huge sense of anxiety that I couldn't shake. And I also couldn't place. There wasn't one thing that was making me anxious. It was like an eruption of things. And if anyone were to have asked me, what that one thing was, I don't think I would have been able to name it. It was the whole thing. And frustration. If anyone else has any other feelings that they felt, again, feel free to drop them in the chat. But I also experienced, because of all this, just an intense loss in routine. I wasn't able to experience, or I was starting to not be able to experience my passions, my excitement, my joy in the same way that I was before. So I would choose to not go on bird walks anymore throughout the week. I would choose to stay at home and sort of, for me, it was like watching a bunch of shows, but it was really like getting me out of my environment. And that kind of led for me to active burnout. So for me, it really manifested in like I didn't know or understand what was happening for me. And I wanted to understand, but it felt like the world, like things were moving too fast. Nothing would slow down for me to just understand what it was that I was going through, or what I was experiencing. It was also my first time with burnout, first time experiencing burnout as an adult. And as an adult, it can be incredibly difficult because often, as neurodivergent folks too, we are so good at masking. We can be so good at masking. And that's not necessarily our experience. That's the external experience. They're looking at us and sort of saying like, oh, they're masking well, but it takes a serious toll. And you feel it in your body, and sort of that experience leads into the active burnout. It can feel incredibly unbearable, and it makes the environment that you're in, or that I was in, feel unsafe. So I started, I'm someone, as you can tell from if you've attended a few of these sessions, I'm outspoken, but I started speaking up less. And over time, I started to feel more and more silenced. I felt like when I did speak up, I wasn't being heard. And there were factors that, my anxiety was so high at that point that I was already in this burnout that it felt like I needed something to sort of pull me out and pull me down. And as adults, and experiencing burnout, it can be harder to not have that source to pull down. So I experienced a lot of shutdowns, a lot of meltdowns, a lot of numbness, and also deep shame. There can be a lot of shame around burnout, feeling like it's our fault, feeling like if we weren't neurodivergent, that maybe we wouldn't be experiencing this shame or this fear. And all of those feelings and experiences are completely valid, but the experience, the cause, the output that is the burnout is not your fault. And I just want to take this forum or opportunity to share with you all that burnout, while we're talking about it in a format of like what we can be doing about it, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's how we got to this place. The reason that you may have gotten to this place was a variety of factors outside of your control that aren't your fault. And I'm glad that you're here getting the resources, hopefully, to help move into the next phase. I wanted to go in depth about what it looks like in those two phases, just in case there is anyone on this call that has not experienced burnout, that this is one way that it can look, but everyone's different and everyone's experience with burnout can look different. But these are some of the signs. So if you start noticing that you're feeling shut down and all that, there are so many resources. And Gina, you're so amazing. If for those of you that aren't on our Discord, Gina and James put together a few different resources that you can use to really support you if you're in maybe a darker place than what I can speak to on this call today. But in terms of moving out of these two phases that you may find yourself in, so I'm so happy to say part of the key is coming back to our quirky selves, right? Our selves that we've got our passions. I heard languages in the chat. I heard AI models, all of these passions, interests, those things that are going to get you away from the environment, away from the place that is causing or was causing the burnout. So for me, as I said, like I stopped going on bird walks. Once I started recognizing that I was in a place, Burnout can be a slippery slope. So once you do recognize that you might be isolating, that you might be shutting down a little bit more, that's a great opportunity to say, okay, how can I invest in my passion? How can I get myself the tools that I need outside of this environment to make me feel like me again? Because that's the most important piece of loss. Like, yes, other people are experiencing the burnout through you, but when you lose your sense of self, we want to get that back. So oftentimes when you are getting that trust back and reclaiming that sense of self after burnout, there's this level of mistrust that happens. Mistrust from your environment after you're coming back to a new environment now. Maybe you're looking at things a little bit differently. I want to say that all of that is natural and there's nothing wrong with you. And that's across the board. I'm going to go into the chat because I know we got the check engine light of mental health. Something is wrong. What's wrong? Something. Okay, can I get a hint? Something. Frustrating, crying. Yeah, Gina, I totally been there. It is so hard to like go up against those. It's it's like ingrained within ourselves, those like walls and also just taking accountability for things that might not be or have been ours to carry, right? James says insomnia is a pain and most definitely affected my anxiety. I'm not sure if it was straight anxiety, but I felt like my nervous system was always cranked to the max. Here's another experience through burnout. So migraines can be the worst. I'm sorry to hear that, James. So he said, but why do some guys in the corporate world look down on you when these traits become prevalent in the workplace? That's a really great question, Sahid. I really want to be able to answer that question for you. I think anytime, and this is something that I found in the corporate space, it's something I found working in startups. Different can be intimidating for people. Different can be really scary for people who are so used to seeing one type of interacting with one type of person, being around one type of person. But that doesn't mean that there's anything that you've done that's wrong. It just means that they struggle with your differences. And they might not be your people, although they might be working with you. Austin says, have experienced this too, seen as not contributing or told you need to speak up more or you are too quiet. And then Gina said, I've been trained to be quiet because when I spoke up, I've been scolded for negative or potential or pointing out potential problems that probably won't happen. So I shut down and have to relearn how to talk without cringing. Yeah, 100%. And all of this experience can be so hard too when you're going into a new work environment and you're having to like relearn that and that space and try to be comfortable and try to speak up and try to be you. I'm so sorry that you all were told that you were pointing out problems. As NDers, we are excellent with pattern recognition for the most part. And so being able to call that out is a skill. That is a very important, essential skill. And you should be proud instead of being told that you shouldn't be expressing that. So sending that all your way. Danielle asked, do you think 100% remote work causes or exacerbates burnout, particularly for non-neurodivergent folks? So I've been on both sides. I've been on site fully and I've also been remote. I will say the way that you operate in your remote environment or the culture around the organization really, really matters when you're doing remote work because that can sort of make or break. I've been a part of organizations that, especially at Mentra, where the time that I spend focused on my interests and on my passions is so important to the work that I'm doing outside of that, and it really all feeds into it. So finding a culture that understands that and uplifts you is and hopefully we're building that over here and can continue offering those to you all. Okay. It was the opposite for me without having to stress how to get to work. If people look at me, if they think I'm taking too many breaks, if my voice is annoying. Yeah, so many what ifs that remote work can take away. You're hoping for a hybrid role, Lynn. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. I experienced back-to-back layoffs in remote settings. I'm so sorry to hear that. Several friends have shared they feel remote is more accessible. It's definitely a personal choice. For the first 2 years, for me, burnout causes guilt. I feel less productive and lazy. That's a really, really important call, Austin. Absolutely, it does produce guilt. And I would extend that even further to say it causes shame. It makes us feel like we are we are the cause of this experience that we're having in our body. And it's really truly not. But that's kind of all of the signals that we're getting told in our environment often come back to us, and it's really just not. It's not our burden to carry. So yeah, I hear that. Every time I get overloaded and need to rest, all I hear in my head is must be relaxing. Yeah, 100%. Just remember, opinions are like butts. Everyone has one and they mostly stink. You guys are awesome. Yes, yes, yes. Burnout is not synonymous with inefficiency. That is true, Sahid. That's a really, really, really good point. Unfortunately, there have been periods of, and even when I was working in the corporate scene where I was incredibly efficient, I was successful, but I was burnt out. I'm sorry, John. Okay, all right. I'm going to come back into our slideshow here, and we've got about 10 minutes left. So I want to leave time for questions, y'all. So if you've got questions, start dropping them in the chat. I can probably stay 10 minutes after for those of you that have a few extra questions, but I'm going to get back into this. So you might experience when you're coming back to yourself, coming back to your interests, your passions, maybe it is a choice to exit the environment that was causing that burnout. If that's an option available to you, that energy will start trickling back. You'll get maybe a hunger to unmask, and those spaces will start to appear where you feel safe to unmask. Maybe you'll feel a reconnection to yourself, to your interests, to your community. And then you can start developing scripts that help you set those boundaries that are going to keep you in yourself. Because the world, unfortunately, it may often continue to keep taking. And so having boundaries and areas where we can say no, because you are allowed to say no. You are allowed to say, this does not work for me. You are allowed to say, this doesn't work for me, but this does. You're allowed to do all of that. And I encourage you to. I have scripts for that as well if anyone has any questions on those. But I want to give a few ways that we can track burnout when we're already in it, because that's the hardest part, figuring out what burnout even looks like. So here are a few options that I've used in the past, in particular, this first one I have used, and it actually led to me making the decision to leave the role that I was in and actually move cities. So it was a pretty big recognition that came after using this tool. So what you would do is you want to use emojis to track your emotions at specific times throughout the week. So say every day you close out your work or every day you wake up, an area, think about like an area where you feel the most amount of tension within your body. You feel the most amount of like frustration, upset, your like emotions are on 10. I want you to sit down. It could be in your notes app. It literally could be you just drawing it out, however it manifests or it works for you. But I want you to think of an emotion and document it with an emoji. And a few questions you can ask yourself. Gina, you sent along some really great questions about different what you can ask yourself when you're in burnout. But a few good questions as you're doing this is, how do I feel about completing a project? How did I feel during the project? What can I do that would make me feel better about completing the project? So that's more around like one particular like completion deliverable, I suppose. But say you're just wanting to track how you feel in a friendship. Maybe you're burnt out, because to be burnt out doesn't just happen in the workspace. We're talking about it in the context of the workplace, but it can also happen in friendships and relationships and in other areas that might be leading to burnout, exacerbation in work or as I said, in other areas. So these are great questions to ask yourself to kind of get at that why and documenting it alongside. So the other option, and we have a Discord channel, you guys, if you aren't on the Discord channel, please, please, please join. We are growing it. We're going to be launching our app soon, as I said earlier. So all of the app downloads that we're preparing right now are going to be over in Discord. So check it out. But I recommend like having a friend that you can trust or a fellow job seeker, even in our Discord community, if you're looking for a new role, and send them like brief status updates of how you're doing. If you struggle in reaching out to someone and saying, hey, maybe I need help, I have a prompt for you. So don't you guys worry. I've got a prompt for it. You can check in weekly on them, or they can do the same for you, but really just being a sounding board for each other when the frustrations come up about something that's going on, because It more than likely will as you're looking through the job process. And I want you to sort of have those systems in place that you can go to. So what does that script look like? So it's got a lot of vulnerability in it. I will say that. You just say, like, I wanted to reach out because I've been really struggling. Things have been feeling really overwhelming, and I need someone to just check in with. I don't expect you to fix anything, but I want a friend to be there. So this is a message that you can send along to someone that you might need support from. And I'm going to share over the next 2 days, I'll share this deck so you all will have this script available for you. And then here are a few emojis that you can use. So if you break it down to 4, if there are too many on your phone, here's the 4 you can use. You've got an okay, you've got a struggling, an overwhelmed, and a small bit win. And you could even text these to yourself. Like, make it as easy as possible as it is for you to track how you're doing. Okay. All of that being said, I want to close out on the burnout conversation with just this one last note that burnout is not as much about overworking as it is about the effects of forced conformity. So, again, this is just clarifying that the burden of burnout does not fall on the victim of the burnout. Healing is about unmasking safely, specifically finding those spaces where it is safe to unmask, whether that be here in Mentra spaces or on our Discord or in your friendship groups, or I don't know, for me it's in my bird groups. Finding solidarity and building life around environments that don't demand your erasure. I'm gonna come back to the chat real quick. Remote 1, I could handle so many environments. We're just going back in. Who's going to make sure I can reach everything? So it's not just yeah. Will you share those boundary scripts? Hi, Dave. Thank you so much for this question. Absolutely. I would be happy to share boundary scripts. In fact, we're looking for our next webinar series that we're going to do. So if boundary scripts and scripts in general would be something that would be helpful to you all, I'd be happy to make that our next webinar. John, actually, who's here, gave a great suggestion on elevator pitch and resume updates for our next event. So y'all should see that registered. And all you'll need for that is just your current resume, and then we'll go over your LinkedIn and just a prepared elevator pitch. Just going through the messages. More about the effects of forced conformity. Yes. Yep. My least favorite question. Tell me about yourself. Yeah, Elaine, we will definitely have time together to make that question a little bit more fun, because there's a way to make it fun and memorable and not feel like, as awkward as it can. Do I start with I'm in my hot mess area? You're funny. Oh, great. All right. Okay, I'll come back to the slideshow. I would love, love, love. So this is now, I believe, our 6th event that we're hosting here on Mentra, and I am so, so excited and so grateful to be here to share with you all tools and tips and tricks. If there has been anything that has worked for you that you have liked, I would really, really love to hear your feedback. Anything that you didn't like, anything that you hated, all the things. Tell me all of the things. This is my email. Smart is also on the call. I'm going to go through a few roles. Y'all, if you're able to stay on with me for another few more minutes, we've got a few roles that we're hiring for and wanted to share with you all. So yeah, if you've got feedback, please send it my way, steph@mentra.com. On that same note, I would love if you all have ideas for upcoming webinar topics. Let me know what you want to hear, because we are taking suggestions. Spicy disaster. This is great. People should have their own stories. I'm happy to share my story. Having made over 1,000 edits to Wikipedia.
It's over
And
100,000 edits.
oh my gosh, Perry, that's awesome. You sound amazing. Thanks for the body doubling session. I applied to 6 easy apply and 1 y'all. We've got to give some love to Daniel in the chat. Can we send like some emojis? Yes, love to hear it. Same for Perry. 100,000 edits on Wikipedia. Are you kidding me? You guys are so cool. For the tell me about yourself, like so Allison would. I haven't heard of that. Now I'm going to have to. So yeah, if there's any other upcoming events, I'm going to take down the boundary and boundary scripting. And I'll send along a few scripts in the debrief from this call. And then, as always, just wanted to give a reminder we are hiring with our specific partners. So we have Honeywell, Amazon, and Microsoft, as well as directly through Mine and Smart's network. So if you found a role that you're interested in, send us your resume, your Mentra profile link, and a link to the role, and we'd be happy to make that connection. If it's not one of our 3 clients and it's someone that you came across on either of our LinkedIns, I'm happy to make the connection there as well. Just send me your email and be happy to help. Let's go. There's over many years since 2016, not one specific thing. That's amazing. Oh, Ash also updated my LinkedIn bio and started a first draft of my cover letter. Yes. Oh my gosh, Ash, that's awesome. Congratulations, LinkedIn bio. All right, y'all. So I've got some roles to share with you. Our first role, and this is actually going to be across Amazon and Microsoft, is we are looking for a data center technician. Now, these data center technicians are located in different areas throughout the United States. And so some teams do also offer relocation support, just kind of depending on which city you're going to. In terms of what this role looks like, it doesn't require a college degree. It does require long shifts. So if anyone's interested in this role, again, my email, steph@mentra.com. Our next one is with Honeywell, and you guys, they have so many internships available over on their website. If anyone is interested in any internship, reach out to myself or Smart. This specific one is for cybersecurity. I left this one up because this is their priority in sourcing for internships. So if anyone is interested in these, happy to make the connection there. And then we have a few. Oh, Morgan also updated their LinkedIn. Congratulations, y'all. We are just LinkedIn connoisseurs over here. Feel free to drop in your LinkedIn profile link and we'll all get connected to each other too. And we can start tagging each other in things we see too. Like, I think, Gina, you might have gotten one of my tags a few weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, but I'm going to keep doing that, y'all. So if I know what you're looking for and I see a role coming across LinkedIn, expect a tag. Awesome. All right. So I didn't see any. Oh, Perry, you've got a question. All right. I'm going to read this. Is it bad if I don't have anything to update since I haven't done anything unique since April, but instead kept doing the same things I already list? Well, my friend, it sounds like you have experience in what you've been doing over the past few months. And I would beg to say that does require, or that does, that could be interesting on your resume. You could outline it by saying, you've been doing it for X time period to X time period. I would try to think if there are any skills too that you've refined in that time period. Maybe you started out like thinking, oh, I'm very detail oriented, but by the end you were like, wait, I'm actually really great at patterns. So if there's anything like that, that might be a really good place to start. And then Aline, I saw your hands raised. Go ahead and.
Yeah, hi, Steph. First time here. Do you welcome verbal comments or is it just chat focused?
No, I love verbal comments. I'm happy. Yeah, thanks for raising your hand.
Okay, perfect. I had to share something that always comes to mind in these type of spaces because I think we can be a little hard on ourselves with past career choices and the decisions we have to make in the current job search. And I just kind of wanted to say what came to my heart when I was reading some of the comments is I hope we're all able to extend ourselves grace in this period because some of us will need to accept a position in an environment that we have questions about and an environment that we may not feel is as inclusive or values diversity. And that's for varying reasons, right? Because we have families or we have financial needs or what have you. So I just wanted to say that I hope you're all extending grace to yourselves. And I hope you all this week find what you most need, be it love, laughter, support, family, what have you.
Thank you so much. And notes like that are so important. You were so right. Can I just ask you, is your name pronounced Aileen? Aileen?
Thank you for asking. It's Aline.
Aline, thank you so much. Thank you for joining. I think that this is your first time joining us as well. So really excited to have you here and Just really appreciate your comments. So thank you.
Thank you for holding the space.
Absolutely. Does anyone have anything else they had questions about? Any other scripts that might be helpful for folks that I can send along? Go ahead, Danielle. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Steph. The cyber internship, I think last time the job description was not ready yet. I wonder if they have the job description ready, and if they are only looking for students or those about to graduate, or whether it's open for everyone. I just wanted to check.
Yeah, so they're looking for folks that have graduated in the last 2 years. They don't yet have the job description available publicly, which is a good thing for us. We've been building up resumes and hopefully we're able to get to sort of that first round before they start accepting other applicants for y'all. But yeah, graduation within the last 2 years. And then the great thing about these internships, if they are paid, but if y'all are able to check them out, they have very, very high potential to lead to a full-time role. So that option's available with these two.
Yeah, it was very interesting, but unfortunately, it's been like 4 years since I left school. So
Yeah, Daniel, it might be a good idea for us to even connect because I know I'm going to drop my email in the chat. Why don't you reach out to me via email and maybe we can try and find a role that might be a little bit more with your experience, or with the date that you recently graduated.
yeah, definitely. I'll send you an email. Thanks, Steph.
Of course. Thanks for asking. Sorry that's not ready. We're hoping to have it ready soon. And then Gina, did you just drop in the Discord link? Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Thank you. To the Discord, I'm not able to go. Oh, sorry about that, you guys. But yeah, so that is the Discord link. Feel free to join everyone. We post job openings as they come up. I post about the events over there. And we also have a Mentra feedback page that's public, and anything that you sort of want to see us improving on or want to see changed, we're happy to take feedback there. And also to my email, which I dropped into the chat. All right, everyone. Well, if there aren't any other questions, and I'll hang out until as people like trickle out. If there's anyone that wants to ask the question, maybe with a smaller audience, I'll be here. But thank you everyone for coming to this event. Yeah, thank you. No, thank you. Mentra is only as great as its users, and you enable us to do some pretty amazing work, and we hope to make the world of a difference. And I think we will. So thank you for making the time for us.